Welcome back. Now, we've heard quite a bit about the potential for electric engines in reducing carbon emissions in short-haul air travel, but there's always been a sense that other approaches would be needed for some aviation, especially long-haul travel. Well, now British Airways is investing in a company called ZeroAvia, which is working on large hybrid hydrogen electric engines designed for zero-emission aircraft, carrying more than 50 people. Well, joining me now is the founder and chief executive of ZeroAvia, Val Miftakov, and Carrie Harris, who's head of sustainability at British Airways. Welcome to you both. Val, let me start with you. You've raised now, I think, £54 million since inception. How far will this latest investment take you?
Again, what we are trying to do here with this investment is to kick off the development of a larger engine, which goes into the 50 to 70 seat aircraft, so which is the mainstay of regional aviation. So this is really exciting. This is expansion of our overall program. We already have funded the 600 kilowatt engine development, which goes into 10 to 20 seat aircraft, and now we're going to the next segment.
Now, you've already completed a 20-minute flight. I gather there's a 250-mile flight planned from the Orkney Islands later this year. Is that right?
That is correct. 250-mile flights. We are finalizing the locations now.
And how many people would be on board potentially if that were a full flight?
Well, this is a 6-seat aircraft. Now it's an experimental aircraft. It's configured as an experimental R&D aircraft, and we usually have 2 people on board, a chief test pilot and a flight test engineer.
But the aim here ultimately is for this to be able to power long-haul flights as well as short-haul.
That is correct. Over time, we believe this approach, hydrogen electric approach, can go to any size aircraft and match the distance that's flown by fossil fuel aircraft.
Now, Carrie, British Airways is not exactly flush with cash right now. I think this investment will raise quite a lot of eyebrows.
Yeah, I think what it underlines is our commitment to a long-term sustainable future for aviation, and that as we recover from the pandemic, sustainability is absolutely core to the future that we see for aviation.
Is BA putting all of its eggs in the hydrogen basket, or are you looking at other low-carbon aviation alternatives as well?
Yeah, we've got a really broad portfolio looking at how we achieve net zero CO2 emissions for aviation, and that includes action in the short, medium and long term. So in the short term, we're investing in carbon neutral flights in the UK. All our domestic flights are currently carbon neutral using high quality carbon offsets. We're also using electric pushback tugs right now at our operation at Heathrow. And then in the medium to long term, that's where we're investing in solutions like sustainable aviation fuel, which can deliver up to 70% CO2 reduction. And the first plant of that we've invested in will bring fuel from next year. And then the ZeroAvia partnership and the investment that we're announcing today is part of the longer term future, where we could see zero emission flights for our short haul operations within 10 to 15 years.
Well, Val, as I mentioned, as we were hinting there, I mean, there is quite a race on to deliver zero-emission forms of flight, but also in the hydrogen space itself, it's quite a crowded market, isn't it? You've got people like Airbus looking at this. You've got people like Sergey Brin, the Google co-founder, looking at this as well.
Yeah, of course, and that just reflects how good this type of technology is, how good this type of fuel is for enabling aviation to go zero emission. And for ZeroAvia, this is actually great because all these companies that you just mentioned are what's called airframe companies, or they build aircraft, and we are building the engines or power plants. So we're hoping to partner with all those companies to power their crafts in the future.
Val, put this into a global context for me, if you'd be so kind. What sort of appetite are you seeing from other airlines around the world? Obviously, you've got this relationship with British Airways now, which is obviously very exciting. What about further afield?
Yeah, absolutely. We have various letters of intent and memorandums of understanding for about 15 carriers of various sizes. And British Airways, of course, is very important as a partner for us. And a lot of regional operators throughout the world are looking to operate our aircraft as well as it becomes available.
And what about the attitude of aviation regulators around the world? Are they watching this closely? Are they very excited?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a great relationship with the FAA and the CAA, Civil Aviation Authority in the UK as well. And hydrogen has very great potential to bring sustainability to aviation, as we see a lot of interest in the sustainability topic, especially given that this type of fuel can actually target larger aircraft, Part 25 aircraft as it's called. And both regulators are quite interested in bringing that aircraft to the new era.
Val, just behind you, over your left shoulder, is a very interesting graphic of how the technology works. I think the viewers would probably appreciate it if you could talk them through it, how hydrogen fuel cell powered aviation works.
Absolutely. And by the way, we think about it as a complete package or complete life cycle, and that's why some of the companies in our investors list, like Shell, for example, are involved as well. We're looking at the generation of fuel as well, in addition to the engines. So we're hoping to bring zero-emission hydrogen to the airports, generate fuel from renewable electricity at the airport, and then use it in the engines that go onto the planes. And the way it works on the engine side is the hydrogen is stored on board the aircraft and then fed into the hydrogen fuel cell system that takes hydrogen from the tanks and takes oxygen from the air, combines it in an electrochemical reaction, a low temperature reaction, so the material stress is relatively low and reliability of the system is very high compared to combustion engines, takes those reagents, produces electricity, and then after this, it's an electric powertrain. So that's why we call it hydrogen electric. So we don't burn hydrogen in the system, we convert it to electricity, and then the electric motors drive the propulsor. So right now it's a propeller. Later on, we're moving on to the larger aircraft and driving the familiar fan propulsors that you see on jet engines. But that's in the future.
Very briefly, Carrie, if you'd be so kind, when do you think British Airways might be operating commercial flights with this technology? I know it's a difficult question.
Yeah, so ZeroAvia have said that between 2024 and 2027 would be the first small 20-seater. For us, we're much more interested in the larger 100-plus seat aircraft. And for those, we expect between 2030 and 2035 to have those within our fleet.
All right, very exciting development. Carrie, Val, thank you both very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks.